Hey, welcome everybody to the channel again. I have another exciting interview and conversation with my friend Sam. Now, Sam is the owner of Dogtown, which is a doggy daycare essentially. They have some kennels there. They do a lot of stuff there. They'll wash your dog. They'll just treat your dog all day long. So without further ado, Sam, welcome.
Thanks, Chris. Welcome. It's a pleasure to be here, man.
Yeah, really excited to have you. I know I say that every show, but I know that's part of it is I'd like to get people on the channel that essentially just intrigue me and I'm very interested to learn about. And I've loved what you've done. We've had a few conversations in person because I bring my own dog Carter to you, which she's very, very tired when she comes home, obviously. But what you're doing is, I think, incredible because, as we've talked a little bit, you had a quote-unquote day job. You stopped that day job, essentially, and I'd love for you to get into it, but you stopped that day job and you started this. So, like, how did you even... To me, and I think most people, because I'm kind of in a transitional phase myself, like, it's pretty incredible to have, like, a good thing going, essentially, like that safety net, and to drop that for something of the unknown.
Yeah, it's like I'm still in the mix, right? So
yeah,
it's so new that it's tough. And I kind of watched like 2 minutes of some of the other videos you put out, and it seemed like pretty much everyone was kind of doing the same thing, a transition.
Yeah.
In between, like, maybe getting out of the Navy or I don't know, something came up, like a not midlife crisis, but like just a transition, like fork in the road.
Yeah.
But for me, it wasn't. I was in a safe government job.
Yeah.
And I'm working 40 hours a week. I'm working nights, and I'm in a training program. It's like, straight towards management, and I just was out. I just didn't see.
Yeah.
I think the government it's great. It's safe. There's definitely some perks. It's very honorable. I'm working for the DoD, all this stuff, NAVC. But at the same time, it's like you wake up and you're 40. It's just like, it scared me.
Yeah, it is scary. I mean, a lot of people don't want to get sucked into that. I mean, there's movies made about people working in cubicles and hating their jobs and anything that goes along with that. And that's part of the reason I'm doing what I'm doing in my career as well, is because I don't want that necessarily, and not that what I do right now brings that to the table, but it's very understandable. But it's also, I think a lot of people feel the way you're feeling, but they don't make that risk because of that, like I said, safety net. And you were on track you said you're on track, things were going good, smooth. I mean, you really didn't have anything that were like, oh man, I really need to take this job change because this job just isn't working out. Like, things were working out and you're still like, I mean, I don't know. That's pretty crazy to some people, to just drop something good like that.
Yeah, it's like I'm a psycho.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a psychopath. Like, I had a lot of things going for me, like, really well. And I don't know, maybe I'll find out later why I just don't know, because it's only like 6 months ago,
Yeah.
But in the last 6 months, it's been awesome. It's just like not a weight lifted off, but like, it's just, I'm having fun with it.
Yeah, you're doing what you want. And from me looking in from the outside, it's so easy to see that. I mean, I didn't know you before Dogtown, but I know you pretty much since the beginning of Dogtown, and you're always happy. And obviously, like, you have all your stuff, you show everything on Instagram and Facebook, and you can track your dog. It's so cool. I'm always checking in on Carter. But the fact that, you're doing so many fun things with the dogs, and you're just doing what you love, man. Like, you're having a great time, and I preach that all the time, like, and that's why I'm making my career changes. Do something you love that you have fun to do, because I'm pretty sure you don't wake up, even though you guys are open at, like, I think 5:30 in the morning, but you don't wake up before the crack of dawn and you're like, man, just not looking forward to today, another day of the office, but you're waking up and you're like, I get to play around with 50 dogs all day, like, this is awesome. Like, how am I going to entertain them today?
Basically, that's my thinking when I wake up, and at the same time, it's like, I don't change. Like, when the camera's on, because since Dogtown opened, I've really filmed a lot more of my wife.
Yeah, it's pretty weird
It's
being
like,
able to do that.
but when I go on, right, and it's great because like my audience, they can't talk yoga with the dogs. Like they're not like making fun of me, like, oh, your yoga pose sucks. It's like they just like lick your face, and you're just enjoying it, and put it out there.
Yeah. And it's so it is weird because what I'm even doing now is very new to me, and being able to have essentially, like, I'm talking to you, but it's pretty much a one-way audience, right? There's nobody reciprocating what I'm saying right now, right? Nobody able to answer immediately back or whatever. So being able to put yourself out like that initially is very exposing. At least that's the feeling I got. But you're right. I mean, like, essentially when you're there with the dogs, it's one thing. They don't, they're not talking back or anything like that. But you brought up the yoga thing too, because I mean, like I said, you're doing so many things. You're doing obviously daily and hourly and minute by minute feedback for all the dogs, but you're also doing the yoga thing. But how are you actually working in the yoga? I'm not really sure how. Is that during working hours of the doggy daycare or?
Yoga. They do a yoga, like, well, if you start back to the first one, I reached out to Centered and Well, which are just two girls, Zoe Close and Heather, and they do like pop-up yoga sessions and do counseling and one-on-one yoga.
Okay.
And they're local. They have a good following on Instagram, and I was just starting out, and so I just like DM'd them, and I was like, hey, could I walk dogs while you guys do a yoga session or whatever at Waterside? And because I saw there was like 20 local young people going to yoga, and they were like, yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. And so we actually never met up to do a session, but I was like, well, I'm so focused on opening. When I open, we'll do an event. And so we did, and people loved it, and so we did another one. We have plans on doing a third. So
yeah, it's super cool. I guess this is a good point for me to say that. Yeah. You are, and I don't think I said where physically you're located, because I know people are watching, not just here locally, but you're in Norfolk, Virginia, right. So right next to Virginia Beach. But so I guess anyone willing to make the trip to you, you're willing to take, right? I guess what I'm saying is most of your business from Norfolk, or is that something you track?
Yeah, Norfolk, Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
We have people from all over, and sometimes. Well, it's funny because like our Instagram audience is like actually nationwide. It's insane.
Yeah, that's the beauty about it. I mean, you think, it's nationwide, and are you really going to cater to all of them? I think yes, because Virginia Beach, for example, is a vacationing spot. So they're like, maybe I'll bring my dog on this road trip that I wouldn't necessarily bring him, and I can drop him off at Dogtown.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
But I think the biggest thing is that people are just entertained.
I would say so. I think the first thing I've been watching the progression of Dogtown, since you had, I'm sure you'll get into, you had I think the warehouse, and you tore down the warehouse, and you completely refurbished this place to make Dogtown. But what I initially remember is you wearing the T-Rex blow up costume, or whatever you want to call it, and you're letting all the dogs out. I'll have to link it. But you let all the dogs out, and it's just like, it's hilarious. And I'm pretty sure I saw that on either the news or something somewhere on some other social media site. Somebody pumped it, and I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah, that was it got like picked up by Rumble.
Yeah, and, Rumble in the morning. Yeah.
And so like I have nothing. I just like got this proposal, and they're like, sign here, and I'm like kind of just like, whatever, it's an opportunity to get my name out there. I was like, sign. I probably should make old stuff, but you never know. It's like, they didn't technically buy the video, but they bought the rights to monetize it.
Oh, interesting.
And so, that's something that was new to me, and so that I was like, well, I can only learn from it.
Yeah, so I guess that's a lesson learned. So I guess two things. One, would you do it again? And two, it's probably a good thing it was early on, and it kind of got your name out there a little bit more, I would think, right? Or no? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it did. I mean, I don't think it hurt.
Yeah.
But I definitely would do it again. I might take more like legal look at it. Like like I probably should have read it and been like, okay, each one of my dogs are actors, and I'm releasing them because I have a release form through releasing them to me, and then I'm releasing it to Rumble. So like I wish I should have looked into it a little bit more, but but at the same time, it's like you're in the moment. I'm like, you know, pumped. I got this offer. It's like 90%.
No, it's very cool.
Earning.
That's neat.
So I was like, sign here. I was like, yep, I will sign right now.
So what were you doing? I mean, if you want to talk about, I'm so intrigued. I'm sure anybody watching was like, I mean, so you had a good job. Everything was going well. What were you doing before this?
Yeah, we can go back. So
I'm sure people will be even more stumbled at why you would have dropped something, but when they find out.
Well, my dad owned a small business growing up.
Okay.
He was a mining engineer. You know, I think he borrowed a bunch of money from friends and family and whoever could loan him money. Yeah. And he started this rock crushing business. So small business has been in my family.
Okay.
And he did well for himself, and he worked every day. Like, you know, looking back, like he was at a handful of my games in high school. You know, so it's like he worked every day. Yeah. And so out of school, I didn't really know what I was going to do out of high school. And I went to school out in Colorado. I like to ski and snowboard and, you know, rock climb and just be outdoors. And
Which school did you get? I'm from Colorado, so a lot of people are going to be... I'm sorry?
CU Boulder.
CU Boulder, yeah. A couple friends up there. So hopefully they're watching.
I was a buff. I was in Williams Village North, the new dorms.
Yeah.
And moved out. I was on Broadway and 20th. Right by like Wolf Law and
cool, man. Yeah, Colorado's great. We could probably have a whole entire session just talking about the many things that are amazing about Colorado and to do out there. But so you went to CU and then you
yeah, I think that was like a big thing. Like my parents, I think all this whole business, everything was like from the parents' standpoint. With like they made me go to school out of state.
Okay.
That was like, to me, it was like crazy because usually a lot of people are like, so money wasn't an issue. So that's another thing. It's like, you know, that it was my college is going to be paid for my grandparents.
Oh, okay. So, and they wanted you to go to out of state, they just wanted you to get a completely new experience.
Just to grow the fuck up. Yeah, just like if you stay in Lexington, Kentucky, where I'm originally from, you get hooked on some drug, you know, and it's just alcohol, and it's a safety net. I don't know if you can go home and have Sunday dinner with your family, but then, you know, that's just my perspective.
Yeah.
Getting away from my hometown and going to college was the number one step.
Yeah. I think that's important for any growth. I mean, I think that's like with traveling or anything that you do where you're getting out of again, with the safety job, you're getting out of the safety net, you're seeing something completely different, you're challenging yourself and you're putting yourself in a situation that's so foreign and so new. It just makes you think in a different way because you're seeing people interact in a different way. And then you're slightly vulnerable because I think you're very vulnerable because you're in a completely new situation. So.
Right. Yep. So I mean, I knew one person out of 30,000.
Yep.
And we didn't live together. I just went in blind. No room. I didn't know my roommate. Didn't know anybody besides this one kid. And you know, and we still keep in touch. He's in the Navy. He's a Marine. a SEAL. But and he's moved to Norfolk, which is the funniest thing. You know.
Well, there's a lot out here. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like one or two places.
Yeah, so I was studying, you know, Spanish and geology and just core classes. And then I finally got the call from my dad. He was just like, all right, it's time to take it in gear.
To figure out what you're actually going to do.
Yeah. So he kind of pointed me towards engineering. That's what he did. And so right during that time, it was 2009, the oil industry was booming. I mean, like, wow, like it was crazy. The fracking was going off. Mm-hmm. I'm sure Colorado, you know, jobs are going crazy. So I applied to a bunch of schools for petroleum engineering. I got into West Virginia, where my dad went, my parents went, my other brother went. So there was some like, not bias to go there, but yeah, that was an option.
Yeah.
And then I also got into Alaska Fairbanks.
Well, that would have been fun.
Yeah, and then I got into LSU. So I got down to it. I was like 2 weeks away from going to Alaska because I wanted to.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm a psycho.
I
just wanted to be like by myself, and I knew like it was 100% job placement. And but then like 2 weeks before I left, I got accepted to LSU, and somebody that my best friend growing up, he went there, and I was like, well, I'll just go to the South and go to SEC school.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like it would have been hard to pass up Alaska. I mean, especially you spent a fair amount of time in Colorado, and then Alaska, similar but very different. But a lot of opportunity to do some crazy stuff out there. So, but you picked LSU.
Well, yeah, I did. Right. So I'm at LSU. I got one buddy from high school, or that I grew up with, and he happened and luckily knew everyone. So the transition socially was super easy,
much easier,
and scholastically was good because I'm coming off like a high. I was doing like engineering courses at Colorado.
Okay.
I was switching from like Spanish to like chemistry, so it was like, it was like a transition, but at the same time, it's hard to leave Colorado. It was like my dream school.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm all too familiar with that.
Yeah, and it's funny because right out of high school, I forgot to mention this, is I was waitlisted at a military academy, the Merchant Marine Academy.
Okay.
And I did a visit. I was going to play lacrosse there, and I got denied. And so I was like, fuck that, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm going to Colorado, and I'm going to party, and I'm going to do, all the things I want to do.
Well, you picked the right state.
Yeah, and at LSU, I do engineering. I did petroleum engineering. I did an internship with Baker Hughes, which is a huge, big time company. I met a guy at a bar, and he happened to be a friend of mine. His sister was a recruiter for Baker Hughes, and I don't know if that helped. I don't know if it didn't, but I applied and did an interview, Skype interview, just like this, and I got an offer. And like out of my whole life, that like one day of receiving that offer was probably one of the best days of my life.
That's incredible. That's a great feeling. It's a really great feeling.
Yeah, and then I did great through school. I mean, I was like 3.6 student in petroleum engineering, which is pretty hard. And then the summer before I graduated, I actually worked for free, which is weird because a lot of people, like, that's hot right now. Like right now, it's hot. It's like, go work for free to somebody that's like you admire. Like a lot of people, I think people are doing that. And for me, I did that 2 years ago. So it's like, I didn't know any better. I was just like, no one's hiring, and I know somebody will hire me if I'm working for free.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously somebody's going to hire like that, but you're saying you're working for somebody that you're aspiring to eventually work for, or in the sector that you're going into. So obviously, acquiring that information is priceless, and it was priceless, but I think it's a great idea. So
I sat outside the library with a list of like probably 20. Like, I had no clue who these people are. Just cold call. And then I had one that I did know, and people admired, like, the persistence of calling and like not sending that email. I couldn't go see him in person. Mm-hmm. That's something that I found out over time is like the best thing you can do is if you can't go see him in person, call them. Mm-hmm. Or you mean Skype, whatever.
I think you can't people underestimate that, especially nowadays. I mean, everybody's about texting, the direct messaging and everything like that. So to be able to get somebody, either if you're using a telephone to call them or if you're using Skype to get the face-to-face, is it's makes you stand out, I think, than the other person, and especially coupled with the persistence that you inevitably had, I'm sure that stuck out as well. Yeah,
and my, like, a lot in the oil field, especially in college too, who do you go to find a summer job? Your parents. And my dad has no petroleum connections, and like I'm dealing with kids with like parents who own oil companies.
Yeah, wow.
So like I'm at a disadvantage, but at the same time, it's like you can't beat persistence.
You can't. You really can't. That's a very attractive quality to have, especially when you're getting into any type of business. So you did the right thing. So you were very persistent with this. Go ahead.
I moved to Midland, Texas, Odessa.
Okay.
Where Friday Night Lights was filmed.
Cool.
That movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a little while.
Where the Mojos, where Booby Miles played. And I used to run by there, like acting like I was like Booby.
That's good. You ran especially fast by that bit.
Yeah. And, you know, just working for free is like, I think it was cool. It's just like you learned a lot. You're no pressure. Like you can stay late and, you know, go in early or leave early, whatever. You know, they're not paying me.
No, it's a good point. I think that's a really good point that I didn't even consider. Like you don't have the stress. You're not dependent on that job to pay your bills because you're not getting paid for the job. So anything that relieves that financial stress allows you the leisure to not be stressed. So I think you're able to contribute a different portion of your being to that job in that case.
Yeah, and I'm sure somebody will be like, you know, but he had money to do that or whatever. But I last summer I worked, you know, I put in 60-hour weeks, 70-hour weeks with Baker Hughes.
Yeah.
And I made money.
Well, people are always going to be quick to say, I think that's really common in success in general. I mean, there are some people that, of course, were given money to trust funds or whatever. But I think people are too quick to jump down somebody else's throat when they see them doing something really cool or great or a job that they would want. But obviously, there's always, it's a very reoccurring thing is that there's always so much work done behind the scenes until you actually see that success.
Right. So, and that's funny because we can go into this later because like all the motivational videos you'll ever watch is like, I came from nothing. You know, it's like it's tough. You know, because it doesn't apply to me at all. You know, it's like I do come from like. You know, my grandparents owned a company. My dad did own a company. It's like, it's tough because like anything you watch to get motivated, you know, it's always like I came from nothing. I'm an immigrant. You know, my family split toilet paper and we all shared a room. Like I didn't come from that. Like I did share a room growing up because you know we had 7 kids.
Wow.
But 7 boys. Yeah, I'm one of 7 boys.
That's a very busy household.
Right. Yeah, we used to fight over food and. Pizza's there, you take 2 and run, and lucky to get 3rd. Yeah. But anyway, sorry to go off on a tangent.
No, I'll talk about pizza anytime. We can have a conversation just about pizza if you'd like. I mean,
yeah, no, we can go into that a little bit later. But yeah, so my senior year, October, I was applying to jobs, and I got hired. No one was really hiring. We went through the oil crash, and you know, oil was down to like $40 a barrel, and you know, no one's really hiring. There's a lot of companies weren't hiring freeze, and that was kind of tough because like, you know, you go into it thinking like, okay, 99% people, you know, that complete this degree are going to get a job.
Yeah.
And then it goes through a cyclical drop, and you know, you're screwed. So you know, I was open to applying to other places, and I shot the shit with some guy at the career fair at the Norfolk Naval Shipyard. And I forget his name. I forget, but yeah, we just like we talked about the Navy and stuff, and I was intrigued, and he had 1 spot left for tomorrow, and you know he was like, "Can you make it?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll be there." And
this is still in Texas. You had this conversation in Texas?
No, at LSU.
Oh, at LSU. Okay.
Yeah, like the career fair or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had this interview and it went really poorly. Just wasn't expecting some of the stuff he brought up.
Yeah.
And but somehow got the job, and I moved to Norfolk not knowing a soul. You know, I moved here blind
or not knowing anything about Norfolk. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that landed me here in Norfolk.
Okay. Very interesting. It is a good point. I'm trying to. You said you watch a lot of motivational things, and I think most people have, and you're right. They all say, you know, you started from the bottom, and now you're here. But not everybody starts in the same position, which I think is a very important factor to key down on. Everybody's path is different, and it doesn't mean it's going to be any easier or any harder necessarily. But it's what I mean by that is that just your path was different, and you may have not started as low as some people, but it's still a difficult and challenging path, and you could have easily, I'm sure, picked to do something easier, something less challenging. But you continue to go through school, and regardless of if you wanted to party or not, you still made it through. You kept a high GPA. You applied for a job. You worked for free after you made a life to where you can work for free to learn from somebody, and then you got the job and you took another big leap. You went to another new state. So I think that's quite commendable, and I think you said there's going to be people like. There's always going to be people naysayers, but regardless of, you made all those decisions yourself, and you made that life that you wanted, and you kept on pushing no matter what. So I think just because things are good for you doesn't mean that they're going to continue. You have to continue to work for your life to be good, or it can fall to the wayside. I don't think people think about that enough.
Right. And my biggest thing is like you said, it's like everyone starts somewhere else, but like, I don't know, put yourself in my shoes. I don't know. It's tough. It's,
and it's no easy feat coming out of college, regardless, I think, of what you went to college for. I don't think it's an easy feat getting a job immediately after college, sure, I didn't go to college for 4 years. My path is completely different than yours, but I still have found a way, and I will continue to find a way. But I'm also, with my career change, I'm not here to talk about me for any stretch of imagination, but I mean, I've worked literally for years to have my opportunity for this career path. And, people don't see that. They just see, Sam got a job in Norfolk after he got out of college. That's people see that, but whatever. It's not for them. It's for you. You're doing it for you. Yeah.
And the biggest thing is and now, we get fast forward a little bit. So I worked at the shipyard. I got into the program. It's a nuclear test. It's super demanding. It's long hours. It's similar to being like a lieutenant in the Navy.
Okay.
Excuse me. And you stand watch and.
Oh wow! So you're saying you're like a civilian contractor, and you're subjected to standing watches as the military does?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Right. So you stand watch in equal and concurrent responsibility over the ship.
Okay.
And I chose a 4W, which is the aircraft carrier. Has 2 reactors. I could have went sub, but I chose to go aircraft carrier because subs are tight.
Pretty good call. I've never been on a submarine myself, but just looking at them, they're just so eerie, just lurking in the water. And obviously, anything that goes underwater, that was the standing joke, is any ship that's built to sink is not a ship that I want to be on,
I totally agree. And that's funny because in the oil field, everyone says, if you got offshore, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't go offshore. He's like, I need to be able to run if I have to.
Yeah.
On land rigs, you can run if you have to, if there's a blowout.
Yeah.
So it's just, and
there ain't nowhere to run on a sub.
So the funny thing is, 2 things that I've seen oil field and nuke is one thing that transforms is if you can sit, or if you can lay down, lay down. If you can sit, you sit, and if you can lean, you can lean, or if you have to stand, stand. It's like. Anybody who's worked there, if they can lay down, they're going to lay down.
Yeah.
But if they can't lay down, they'll sit or lean. And then, if they have to, they'll stand.
It's that ship life.
So it was an easy transition because, when you're on the rig, people stand watch. You're in charge of a drill pipe and just, pressures and temperatures and all this stuff. And then you go to nuke. So that was a pretty simple transition as well. And the Norfolk Naval Shipyard does an awesome training program.
Okay.
Easy transition. And so that was easy for me. That was a very easy transition. And
cool.
I did really well with nuclear school. It wasn't power school or anything like that, but I was on my way to doing STE school right before I dropped out and I quit. Excuse me, I retired, resigned.
So I was about to say, because the deeper and deeper we go into kind of the backstory of you, I realize, holy crap, like, I mean, I know you had a good job. I didn't really know what it was, but obviously, I mean, there's years of schooling, years of college, a year or so of working for free, all these long and hard hours, all the training program for the new ship that you're working on, the new duties that you had that came with that, all of this spanning years, and you're just like, I'm good. Like, I'm done.
Yeah, and that's something
So what?
I still talk to my employees about this today at Dogtown. It's like, it was tough telling my mom, like, I'm quitting.
Yeah, what a shocker. Like, yeah,
right.
I can't imagine what they were thinking. Like, Sam, are you okay? Like, we got you out of Kentucky because we didn't want you to do the drugs. Like, are you still on the drugs?
Yeah, for real. But that's kind of tough where it's like, I'm a nuclear engineer. Like, that's my title. And, the thing like that can profile, people always like, if you go on LinkedIn, you see the most random and most ridiculous like titles.
Yep.
And it's like, what do you actually do? But the nuclear engineer thing is like, it was actually pretty serious. And not to like pat myself on the back, I was not qualified. I was on my way. I was going to go to school, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now it's like it's humbling to say now, like, I own a dog daycare. It's like.
No, and humility plays a huge part in it. I know over the evolution of my career, that's something that I've had to learn. And I think a lot of people sometimes they misconstrue some things that come with, holding those certain positions that you have, the nuclear engineer, or really anything like that. But the humility and learning to be able to really grasp that is, I mean, you hit it on the head. It's perfect. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's very tough. I don't know.
And now that I've started the business and I'm starting to do like other silly like side businesses.
Yeah.
It's even worse because it's like you start getting into like just like wheeling and dealing and stuff that you wouldn't want to tell your mom you're doing, but it's like it's business and it's like it's her friends that they play tennis or golf, like their sons are doing something else, and my mom like probably doesn't want to share that I'm doing picking up shit all day,
Yeah, but it's like, but at the same time, I mean, your parents are your parents, and you want to make them proud and everything that goes on with that. I understand that. I'm completely in that situation, but like what I was trying to say in humility, which I did really poorly explaining, is that it's very difficult saying like you're like, I am this job, I'm this LinkedIn job. It sounds important because I mean that's an important job, but you have such a title, and then you're like, all right, now I'm gonna like. It almost, I think the way you're describing it was like digressing in a sense of obviously you're not, and I don't think in any nature, and I know that's not what happened, but like you're like, I go from engineer to dog guy, but I couldn't support that with more, like I couldn't support it more. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here, because I think so many people would find that mind-boggling to somebody. Now they know the history of Sam, and they know that everything that's led up to this point, and then you just dropped it, and now you're doing what you love. But like we started talking with, you're so much happier, and you're doing great things now.
Yeah, and especially like I'm sure there's gonna be someone else like, oh, your family supported it, the whole thing.
Yeah, screw them.
But when I was in college, it was my junior year of college, and my dad was an engineer and he owned a small business, and he passed away. So it was like a complete world, spin. So that was tough.
Yeah.
And it was like during finals week, he's real sick. I got to finish my finals, and then and then go home for his funeral, and then somehow come back and like move to a new place, and I had to like start school again, and like he was kind of like the engineer. So like now I'm like in engineering school, and I'm like. Yeah,
it's tough.
I'm still like, even now, I'm like still like figuring out like what I was actually doing during that time, because there was a big point when I was in Colorado. I had the chance to go to Kentucky when I was applying to schools because I could have done any engineering, and he was diagnosed when I was in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
So do I go home to my dad who's sick with cancer, or do I go to a place where I have a better chance of success? And he really pushed. He was like, you don't have to come to Kentucky. I'm here. You'll visit, whatever.
Yeah.
And so he was all for going to a new place again.
That's what I was gonna say. Obviously, I don't know the man, but he sounds, from everything I've heard, like the guy who would have been like, son, this is what I know you need to do, and as much as I love you, I know my dad would have said the same thing. He's like, just go get a fucking job. Like, just go do what you want, man. Like, I love you, and I'll see you. You'll make time to visit me. I'll see you. He'd probably be most happy, or he was most happy, knowing that you were doing what you were doing.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny because like the beginning of that, like the son talk, like none of that. He was like super low key, just like,
yeah, just go do what you want, man. Like,
do what you want and just be happy. But at the same time, he was like, I think you should do engineering. So it's like,
yeah,
he didn't like force it on me, but he was like, I think you should be engineer. So that was
subtle
like,
hints. Yeah.
So I moved, but that whole thing was weird because it's like the support systems. It's not gone. My whole family's still good, and they support the engineering and now the small business. But like the role model was now gone because like my dad was an engineer and turned to small business owner, all this stuff. So at the time I was like just confused of like, what am I going to do? And still finished and got the degree and got a job.
Is that, do you think, why? Because he was an engineer and then he went to small business. I mean, do you think maybe that's why you did some of your transition? Or I don't know if you've quite come out and said why exactly you did the transition, other than you weren't really following something you were truly passionate about. But
right. So, like, if you look above me, there's 5 brothers, and they all could have been an engineer and went small business.
Yeah.
But I think it's in my DNA to like, I think I was built for small business. If I look at my like qualities, like what am I good at? Like if I sat down here and wrote 10 things that I'm good at, number one thing would probably be I'm really good at remembering names. Like insane, really well. Like I could probably name.
So I can definitely second that, because I know with the dogs, I think you're very, very adamant about remembering the dogs' names, and I think that's incredible. Like,
right.
It might not sound impressive, but it's super impressive when you're pumping anywhere to 30 to 50 dogs, I think, a day, right, through Dogtown. So.
Right. Yeah, we've got about 450 registered now.
That's incredible.
But I think that transfers to any business, but for some reason, small business.
You're making yourself much more personable. When you remember somebody's name, that's incredibly special. Not a lot of people do that, and so when you make a positive move to remember someone's name and you call them by their name in particular, to their face, and you're looking at them in their eye, then people remember that. People like hearing their name. It's almost as simple as that. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but people like knowing that you know them.
Yeah. So, I don't know, like the transition between engineer 9 to 5 to small business owner, self-employed, I think it's just like in my DNA. Like back when I was a kid, my parents had a ledger, and each son got paid for the work you did, right? And it was like we're instilled like hard work all the time.
Yeah.
Lawn mowing, chores, they pay you. Even like my friends had like, not my friends, we were like kind of too young, but my older brother's friends, like that was their first job ever. They're 15, like they're going to go cut the grass, and my dad's going to pay them $10 an hour.
Yeah.
So it's, the hard work has always been there, and the transition was just like the safety net. I was just like so sick of the government work, and especially, so my take on government work is I was in a workplace where you didn't want your boss's job.
That's interesting.
And like even hearing that, like
That's
wait,
not very
what are you
appealing.
saying? It's
Yeah.
like, right, and I think that's important. Is like when you see the people in front of you, do not want the person in front of you. Don't want to do that, and then you're like, it just trickles down. It's like a sickening thing, and I just saw it, and I was like, I could probably do something else.
That kind of allows a little bit for some self-reflection of my own, because I mean, in my position, I've kind of looked up vertically and been like, oh, I don't want to do that. That's just more paperwork, or whatever comes with it. I'm sure everybody can think about their own job right now, and I would suggest everybody to, if they're not already thinking about it, to do that, because that's a very interesting thought. I mean, so if I'm somebody who wants that vertical growth in my job, do I really want to do that? And you were pretty plain to see that no, you did not want to do that.
Yeah, and another thing I think that was important during the transition is I was under like the understanding of what I was going to make per month, right? At like a monetary standpoint, and I misjudged dramatically. I went and signed an apartment with someone's wife that I thought I was going to make more money at work, so I could easily afford that kind of rent. And I misjudged. So I was bringing in, X amount of money, and the rent was going quick. And so I was like, I had savings still from like my job two years ago.
Yeah, but that could cut into you quick if you
right.
judge that. Hopefully, that was a pretty good lesson in frugality right there. Just like
absolutely. And I was still like coming out of college, and in college at Boulder I was a huge drinker. 3-4 nights a week we were going out.
It doesn't sound like people at Boulder. That's really weird. It's weird.
Easy. I know. Smoking was a high school phase, and then like it stopped freshman year, and I did drinking heavily through sophomore and junior year. But anyways, you're just surrounded by it, and it trickled over into my first year of work. You're in a 67 incoming class, and everyone's the same age, and it's just like, let's go party, right? So the monetary thing was tough. And I'm not saying like I had savings and I inherited money from family members passing away. My grandmother passed away. My dad passed away. But we can get into that when we start about the small business. But I started doing side jobs. That's the main thing I'm trying to get a point is the side hustle started right when I figured out that my rent is like 45% of my paycheck.
Ooh, yeah.
So usually you try to aim for 25 to 33% of your paycheck goes to rent. But mine was around 40, 42 or something like that. And it was too high. So I started power washing. I found a power washer I got for free from a woman, Ann Ripley. And I started putting out, Facebook, not Facebook because I didn't have Facebook yet, but next door neighbor, and just putting out posts. I think Admiral Cavanaugh, who lives down the street, I met. I was like, hey, could you send out a thing saying I'll power wash? Started power washing houses, steps, friends' places out in Portsmouth.
Okay.
Anything to make a buck. And that's when it really kicked off. I was making some good money doing power washing. In the winter time, I started shoveling. If it started snowing, I would speed to Home Depot. Like some people see snow at night and they're like, awesome, I'm gonna go drink some beers, have a day off, drink some beers, go sledding, snow fight, whatever. Like when I see snowfall, I see cash.
So you cut out there for a second, but you're saying you were driving to Home Depot and then you were doing what?
Right, so like anytime I'm speeding to Home Depot to get salt. Because it's running out, and that's a key for. I learned over time, like because I went through like one winter, and I didn't have any salt, and then you show up to like shovel the driveway at the steps, and you don't have any salt, and they're like, it's gonna keep falling, and it's no point. So I learned my lesson, and now I know like through this side business, like all right, if you're gonna go shovel, go to Home Depot and buy some salt, and then when you show up, you're like, oh, I got salt. You can charge more. and the money started coming quick.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so now I started thinking about like my time value is like at work I make X amount dollars per hour, and now when I get off work, I'm not making any money. So what can I do to like stimulate
make money 24/7?
Right. So that's where I started shoveling snow and doing the power washing to increase my dollars per hour over the 24-hour period. So that was intense. I mean, that's where it kind of started. Is like I started doing side business stuff, and when it really started is like I sat and I went out to the beach and I sat with George Dimeling and Malia Dimeling.
Yep, yeah, I'm friends with them too. Yeah,
about dogs, and like I was spending a lot of time at the dog park. My brother was trickling off of me, and he was talking about he has a dog, and dog business was growing. And so in the mix of like, yes, I was enjoying my job at my 9 to 5, but I was also making a couple $100 a week doing side stuff. I even considered doing the Uber. I registered and was going to start doing Ubering, but having a truck and
not frugal.
It was just like it was a pass because you have a truck.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to be driving that around all day.
Yeah, realizing like the potential of like what is your worth, and I don't know. Maybe I think I am meant to be doing more than the shipyard, and I think that's when it really started. And it was quick. Like the transition was fast.
Well, it's almost addicting. I mean, I know addicting has sometimes a negative connotation to it, but I think I can immediately see that you immediately got a certain feeling from like doing this, and you're like, that's why you said the transition was so quick, because you're doing this, you're talking about dogs, you're seeing that it's a growing sector, you're doing all these odd jobs and these side jobs, and filling your time with making more cash on the side, and you're just like, man, this is fun, to say the least, and I want to keep on doing this. I want to find other ways to do this, and it just snowballs into the next thing, and you want to keep on doing some stuff.
Another thing exactly, and then a thing that was kind of a huge thing was not necessarily during like the business, but Gary Vaynerchuk, a guy I followed since like 2011. He's blown up now. He's Gary V.
Yep.
He came out with a flip challenge, and it was like, can you flip $20,170 worth of things over the internet through Craigslist and OfferUp and Facebook. After where he dropped it, I think he dropped it on January 1st or whatever, 3rd, and I was really intrigued. So I started thinking like, okay, let's start flipping. I want to start flipping stuff on the internet.
Okay. So what websites are you using, or what apps or phone apps are you using for that?
During the time, it was just OfferUp and Craigslist. Yeah, I was on Facebook. I've always been off the grid. I had an Instagram starting my like senior year of college. Never had a Facebook. You can ask anyone. I've been off the grid for like ever. I got a LinkedIn like junior year of college. Yeah. And never had a Facebook. I thought it was just like it was easier that way.
Yeah, it's a lot less distractions.
But during that time, yeah. So, and this is another thing that's gonna be hard to talk about. Is like February 2017, I got a huge amount of money. I inherited money for an upgrade of a house. I didn't own a house at the time, but my dad passed away, and my mom was, we're divvying up money, family money, to my oldest brother has a kid and a kid on the way. He was going to upgrade his house. That's what the money was used for, only for housing, and we're only supposed to get it when we're 35. But my mom was pulling it out, and I think there was a fee, and she was like, I'm going to just pull out everything and give it away to you guys, and I want you to use it wisely, and put it towards the house. So we all did that. I bought a house in February 2017. It's not a lot of money. It was a 1 bedroom condo. It's not like I wasn't given like, a mill. It was just like enough money to buy a small 1 bedroom place.
Yeah.
And it happened to be a foreclosure.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I took this Gary Vee flip count and I put it into my condo. And so I bought a condo for, downtown, and it was a foreclosure. There was no flooring, there were no countertops, there were no appliances, there was no paint.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I'm going to flip this house. And I did. And so I did the floors. I had a buddy from the shipyard do floors with me. I designed the kitchen, the paint. I had someone install the countertops and cabinets and appliances, and I did it for a very reasonable price. And I even did the whole bathroom.
Because you did a lot of the work yourself, or you did all the work yourself, or you just?
I did a majority. I knocked out like all the demo, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was all pretty much empty, but anything new, like the whole bathroom, I had to destroy. Redid the counter. What's it called? Like the dresser, the sink. I did the sink, painted it, stained it, got a new countertop. Just took out the bathtub, do shower. I was thinking all resale. So I did that, and I think I made some money that way. But I still kept the condo, and I was just in my head. I was like, okay, Gary Vee, I probably made X amount of money off redoing this house, and I wasn't gonna sell it. I was just gonna live there. So I moved out of my apartment into a condo that I owned. I didn't have a mortgage. I didn't have any of that. So that was something that people are going to look back on and say, oh, he was given this amount of money. And that's how I got my start. But at the same time, it's like I had lost. I lost someone in my family. I lost 2 people in my family. My grandmother passed away.
Yeah. And
I lost my father. So with loss comes a reward at the same time. But would I give this money back? Of course. Anyone would. Yeah. But that's how I got my start. So that's how Dogtown started. Is I have a condo. I didn't have to go through any of the loan process. I went to my buddy who works at Town Bank, and I was like, look, I have this asset. I want to put it to work. And so I got a loan, a home equity line of credit on this house. And they take the value and do 80% of that, and you get a loan. And then once I knew like I wanted to start a business, like I had the money for it. So and I think that's important, is like I was good. I had a house, it was paid for. I had a great job, and now I'm gonna put my house up for.
Yeah, I think it almost speaks more for what you've done. I think because you're exactly right. You're set in your ways. You have everything. You have the house. You have the job. So it's even almost is crazier the fact that you did it now. And I wanted to, as you were talking. I mean, I'm thinking as you're talking, and I'm like, you pretty much could have still just not done anything. People inherit money all the time, and they go about their way, right? Or they don't do anything, or they don't try to flip the money, they don't try to invest the money, they just get the money and they continue living their life. But you actually did something with it and continue to do something with it and grow on it, right? And that's something overlooked too. And I think people, you keep on saying, well, people are going to say, well, screw them, because if those are the type of people, and I know clearly you don't, but if those are the type of people who say that, then those are also probably the type of people that aren't going to do anything with that money. They're going to be like, oh, he was given this and he was given that, but you've still taken that and you've done something with that, right? So it's something that's very important to think about that.
And so it's tough because I'm 25. I started doing this when I was 24. No, I was at 25. I'm almost 26. But a lot of people ask, how'd you get started and stuff. So it's always really awkward to talk about. And they're like, what, jumps
Yeah.
did you have to, hoops did you have to jump through or whatever. In my small business, like, path was very simple. It was like, I got the cash, I found a place, and yeah, we started to build out. Like, there was no permits, there was no, like, we had permit for like the building and stuff, but like I'm talking about like certifications, any of that stuff. It was like no red tape, no nothing.
Okay.
Just we went well on. So like, I don't even like. I'm not a good example to say like, we overcame all these obstacles and all this shit. It's like, it really wasn't. I just was lucky, and like the zoning was fine. And,
Yeah, but there may have been some luck, and I'm not going to try to misquote that thing about luck, but essentially you make your own luck, and yeah, some things, luck or things come to chance, you get these opportunities, but the difference, the people seem to forget, is making something out of that opportunity, right? Creating opportunity out of this opportunity that was given to you, because you can equally go the other direction and not do anything with that opportunity.
That's right. So that's a good point that you bring up, is like, there were questions, right? And they were unanswered. Say zoning is a big one, and parking, like just small things.
Yeah.
Parking can ruin anybody, because this space is like built for a gym. A gym like would be great in here.
Mm-hmm.
And Adroit, they came and they looked at the space. They needed like 40 parking spots.
Wow.
And I was, how do you know that? I don't know. And they went through the motions and they figured it out. So to me, I had to go, and I was like, okay, Google, how do you find out how many parking spots you need, Norfolk, Virginia? And you Google it, and then really you just get down to like making the phone call to call the city, and they weren't any help. So you just go, I'd go and sit there and wait till I got help, and I had nothing else to do. You put in headphones, you're like, I'll be here when someone comes, tell me, and I'll sit on my phone and text and look through whatever, Snapchat, until somebody will help me get the answer to my question. It's like, it's as simple as that. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you just got to do what you got to do, and it's as simple as that.
Right.
You have a vision, you're already pretty deep in it at this point, and if you got to sit there for God knows how long to get the answers you need, then you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that.
Yeah, and so, construction went on pretty well. It was kind of delayed, and I started, I quit my job.
Yeah, I was going to ask you when you, in this scenario, because it sounds like we're up to 2017 at this point now, right?
Yeah, it was
because you said you got some more of that in motion in the beginning of 2017, so we're down towards, you said October now?
Yeah, so the renovation of the house was February, March, like April. And then I went through that summer, like just working, doing my thing. Still doing power washing, all that stuff. I was still doing that. And then I think like October, it really started. I quit my job. And I realized that, one, I can Airbnb my condo for money.
Yep, boom.
And two, I can
Awesome.
start walking dogs to spread the word about Dogtown. So
Okay.
I started doing $5 walks, and really like undercutting dog walking.
That was my next immediate question, was going to be, it sounds like you're undercutting them, because you say
Yeah.
$5. It doesn't sound like a lot.
Yeah, and not only was I walking the dogs, we were doing like field trips. Like we were going on the ferry to Portsmouth. We were like going to the beach. Like I just like rolled deep in my truck with six.
Yeah,
with
but
dogs.
and it goes kind of like what we were talking about, working for somebody else for free. You probably would walk those dogs for free to get your name out there, and you've built a customer base.
Right. I even thought about doing that to build it. But I think I talked about it with somebody, and they're like, you do want to like value your time.
Exactly.
And when they show up to Dogtown, they might expect more things to be free. So I was like, okay, $5.
No, it's a smart decision. I could see whatever that person said to you about doing it for free. It definitely has a different tone underlying. So to charge a little bit, but because if you do it for free, I mean, I don't own a small business, but if you do it for free, free is very different than setting the tone of undercutting your competitors, right? So I don't think free sets that tone. At least me as a customer, I wouldn't see that. But if you're like, I don't know, if somebody's charging $20 to walk a dog and you're charging $5, then I'm like, I'm gonna take this guy.
Yeah, and I was like, it was more than a walk. It was like,
yeah, and exactly. It's like, I think that exactly translates again into what you're doing now, because you're not just like, hey, bring your dog to Dogtown, I'm gonna put it in a cage and then I'll feed it once a day. You know, like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but there are no cages that I've seen at Dogtown.
No, we do have cages.
Oh, you do have cages. Okay, so you do a little bit of that.
That was the initial idea.
Okay.
A kennel-free facility. And I found out very quickly that dogs, lack of sleep hits dogs too.
Yeah.
And I did try that for about a month, maybe 2, and I was sleeping in my office. I mean, it's like right there. So now that you're another case of frugality, you're sleeping in essentially Dogtown, right? You have a little flat there. I'm gonna back up real quick and go like 2 seconds on this, but
yeah, everybody would love to see it. I'm sure.
Shipyard, and we were, I was working 10 to 6. Excuse me. Yeah, 10 to 6. So I'd go in at 10 and I'd get off at 6 a.m.
Oh, that 10 to 6. Okay, I'm thinking 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So okay.
No, so 10 to 6. And I'd get off, and I would work on Dogtown. So, and sometimes I was Airbnb-ing, I was house sitting, I was watching dogs, I was walking dogs, whatever. And at one point, I think I was watching 3 houses, I was Airbnb-ing, and I think I just quit my job. So I think I was done at the shipyard, but I was watching 3 houses, 3 different dogs, a cat, and then like I had a clientele. I'd walk like 6 dogs a day. So it got weird, and then at one point it got to where like I had nowhere to go. So I wasn't watching any houses, and I was Airbnb-ing, and like I think I was done texting all my friends like, can I come hang out on your couch because I have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So I remember vividly on Tazewell Street by the pagoda, I slept in my car at like from 6 a.m. to like 11 because I had nowhere to go.
For this one night, or did you do this for like an extended period of time?
Like a couple times, just like people would see you in there or whatever. But it was just like it just got weird. I mean, like you'd sleep over at a place, and then like the parents would come, and then they had an Airbnb, and like had to wait. It was like a weird time, like where say I was working 10 to 6, and I'd get off, and then like somebody was watching moose, or like it was just like weird. I had like a weird period of time where like the shipyard ended. I was Airbnb-ing pretty heavy, sleeping on people's couches, like a moose was crashing somewhere.
But that's that tough transitional phase that not a lot of people can endure, because I don't want to speak for anybody particular either, but I think a lot of people would be like, all right, this is obviously, I've gone into some uncharted territories. I'm just going to go ahead and take my job back. Or you still had your job because you said you're working 10 to 6. So I'm going to go ahead and keep with this job. I'm going to not Airbnb anymore. I'm going to take my place and I'm going to sleep in there. And I think there's so many points where you could just consistently turn back, but you repeatedly didn't make those decisions. You made those decisions to push on through those uncomfortable moments. And I've spoke about this before, but it's definitely those uncomfortable moments that you learn from, right? And I'm back and forth on this kind of stuff, but you learn a lot from success, but you also obviously learn a lot from failure and a lot from these uncomfortable situations where you're trying to figure out which friend you've asked the least amount of times to sleep on their couch, or should I sleep in my car again this night, or whatever you're doing. But all those moments are defining moments, and all those moments have got you to where you are now.
Yeah, right. And it's not like when I quit my job, I dropped to making $5 a walk and then like living off the Airbnb. Like when I quit my job, I think I got like, that was the most money I ever made that month when I quit. The month after I quit, that was the most money I ever made, ever. I got a check from the government. I was house sitting like insane amount of houses. I realized there was a huge market for house sitting.
Interesting.
And I knew I was in business, but like that month that I quit, I got like a severance package. My last 2 weeks of work or whatever, got that check. I was like Airbnb-ing, 15 nights a month or whatever.
Are you house sitting so obviously not everybody watching this is from this area, but this area is heavy military. There's got to be at least 5 bases, and I'm probably short on that. But are you house sitting people's houses because they're on military, they're on deployment, or?
It was more friends.
Okay.
It was more friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just word of mouth got out quick.
Okay.
Hey, this kid, he's in the area. And I have a really good friend, Linwood Beckner. He's retired, and we just click well. And he happens to know.
I feel like you have to have a lot of trust in somebody that's going to house sit your house.
Right.
So you're not just going to let anybody in.
Yeah, and his word travels, quick, and it stands for something. So when he says, I'm a good guy and I can get a job done, like.
Yeah, and that's another important note that I don't know if we've hit on yet, but knowing people, right? Being able to network is huge. Being able to know people, I know that's how some of the opportunities that I've had more recently have been able to open up, is because of relationships that I've formed over the past. Essentially, knowing people, from my experience, has been extremely helpful to be able to set up anything that you're looking to do in the future, because you have no idea what network they have, right? It's exponential, essentially. You have a network, they have a network, and then it just like on, I hate to use LinkedIn really, I'm not really sold on it, but I mean, you're able to network socially that way. Online. Right. But I just mean, even you said word of mouth. Word of mouth is so important. I think it's even more important than social media, because word of mouth, it's just like you're remembering someone's name, like you said earlier, is very important. But being able to have that word of mouth there, person to person, is extremely important. And that networking is huge.
Right. And that's a big thing nowadays, is like, should I go to college? Like, I could have started this with no college degree, whatever. But I think and you didn't do it. Did you do an undergrad?
No. So I have such a.
I know.
Yeah. No. I mean, I did. I think it was. Let me see. The math would probably be taking me to about 2 years at a community college, and I am not a huge advocate of. I think probably not anybody watching this, but a lot of people that I've talked to know that I am not a huge advocate of formalized schooling in any means. I'm a huge advocate of self-education, and I take that from me going to school in my entire life and then starting college and being completely uninterested in almost everything that I was doing. And so I was like, I don't want to go to school. I can't stand going to school. Fast forward like probably 3 or 4 years, and I started reading books and listening to podcasts. And I was like, holy shit, like I couldn't stand reading books when I was in high school. That was the worst thing ever. I couldn't stand listening to somebody talk about anything to do with any education. But it was then that I realized that studying what I wanted to study was an amazing feeling. Learning, I love learning, and that's a huge part of the reason I'm starting this channel, because I'm learning so much from you. People hopefully watching this in entirety are learning so much from you, and I think people underestimate how fun it is and how much there is to learn out there. And I know it's kind of like a broad statement, but I became almost obsessed with like, holy shit, like there is so much untapped resources out there that I didn't even know I enjoyed. So like you starting Dogtown, like maybe you could have started it beforehand, but all those things, all those choices and experiences and decisions that you made led up to Dogtown, right? And only because of those did you lead, could you have done it? Yeah, maybe you could have done it. But I think a lot of the experiences that you went through got you to where you are now. So, and it's what's happened has happened. So there's no use.
Just to tag on is like, yes, I could have done this without college, but I think college, the main thing is networking. You really learn how to network. And especially for me, moving to places that you don't know anybody, like you meet people online. Like I could walk into like today, or not was it today, like a while back, I was in Chipotle and I got in line, and this guy behind me was wearing like a CU Boulder shirt, and he played lacrosse. He was like a year above me or whatever.
Oh, you recognized him? Wow, that's incredible. I thought he was just wearing a CU Boulder shirt. Like.
No, I didn't know the guy.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, like, I didn't know the guy, but I'm just saying, like, that guy could be like my best friend right now.
Yeah.
And I think I have an ability about like making friends quickly and getting to know people, because I'm just like, I put it all out there, and it's just an easy thing for me because I've been doing it since I was 17, 18 years old, because I'm to a new city all the time.
Yeah, and that goes back to being so important. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Say, what were you saying?
No, you said you're more of an open book, and it's easy for you to have conversations with people because you're just you're Sam. You say what you want, you say what you feel, and I think I'd like to say that I am the same way.
Yeah.
And
it's funny because we have pretty lengthy conversations when you pick up Carter.
Yeah.
And we're just like talking about anything, trucks in Colorado. We shoot the shit.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are. And again, I don't want to assume how anybody is, but my opinion is, from at least my experience, is that a lot of people are too afraid what other people are going to think of what they have to say. And I can't remember if it was who I was talking to about this, but a lot of times, like when you're growing up, at least me, when I was getting into relationships and dating girls, I was like, oh man, I should try to pretend to be this guy because I think she's going to like this, or I think she's going to like that. And it wasn't until I was like, you know what, I don't even care anymore. I'm going to be me. I'm going to say whatever I want. I'm going to go do whatever I want. In respect to this person I'm courting, and whether or not she likes me or not, then I'll really know that she's the one, because if she can get me through these opinions and those opinions and things I like to do, then obviously she's going to like me. But if you pretend to be somebody, then that person is going to fade away, because it's obviously not who you are. And so when that finally and inevitably comes out, that girl's going to be like, who the heck is this? And not want to be with you. So that translates to any relationship. I use that because it's an actual relationship, but relationships are friendship relationships, a relationship with somebody you meet, anything like that. And if you have sincerity and if you're real with that person, and I think people can definitely tell the difference in if you are authentic and if you say what really you think. And that's a rarity. I think that's a rarity from what I've seen. Yeah. At least with people being able to. Yeah.
I really like. I don't think there's a certain point where I was like, I found myself or whatever. There's definitely not one of those.
No. But, it's definitely evolving, and it's all, like I said, it's all those situations.
And it's still evolving. Like, I'm on like a big health food kick right now, and like,
same.
I haven't had a huge, like, I used to drink 3 or 4 nights a week. I probably blacked out once a week since I've been 16. Like, drinking and smoking was like huge in my family, and like now, none of us do any of that shit.
It's actually pretty similar to me too. Yeah, it's and I don't know. Maybe a lot of college students and a lot of teenagers in their lower 20s. I obviously was like that. Anybody that's known me at any point in my life, from probably age 14 to 25, can vouch for that. But yeah, I haven't drank liquor for a couple of years now. I drink a beer occasionally, and I think what you said, it's you didn't automatically change. It's an evolution. And I think it has to be an evolution, because it's not like, okay, you've gotten to this point now and you're going to stop. You want to continue to seek that knowledge. I would love to be, if I can learn something until on the day I die, hopefully I live a long and healthy life. But if I'm like 80, 90, whatever years old, and I die and I learn something new that week, then I can only hope that can happen. Like, essentially, I know that sounds like a little ludicrous, but essentially what I'm saying is, I want to learn something new all the time. Like, to me, learning things is such a magical, and it sounds so cheesy, but it's like, it's such a great feeling to be able to learn something. And I don't know, it's just I want, if I could get through to anybody with anything, like the people that don't like reading or people that don't like learning or going to school, then so be it. You probably just haven't found your thing. Like,
Right.
I guarantee you love reading, that you just haven't found the right book, or I guarantee you like
Right.
working for yourself, or I guarantee you like doing a side hustle. You just got to find what
Yeah.
works for you and not pretend to be this person that you think society or that girl or that guy thinks you should be.
Yeah. That's a big thing of like realizing that, I don't know, like my big analogy is like, what would a normal 25-year-old kid who has like a beautiful one-bedroom apartment do? Is like use it to his advantage. Whether it's bringing friends over, or like bringing girls over, whatever, to impress them. Like, I didn't do any of that shit.
Yeah.
And now, like right now, I've got Airbnb in there now, and now I have a shack. I have a shitty house with the washer and dryer broke the other day, it leaked everywhere. I think it's like, not that I found myself, but I'm like, I don't need that right now.
No.
Maybe one day I'll have like a very nice house and whatever, great things. Like right now I'm living simply and I'm saving money and I'm doing it real. Like I'm growing through this. So it's I think if anyone wants to like start their own business or go out on their own, it's gonna suck for sure. It's gonna suck.
Oh yeah, regardless of where you start, it's not an easy path, and that's probably why a lot of people don't
you're gonna give
choose
up
that
a lot.
path.
Like, I haven't hung out with friends in a while, unless they come to my neighborhood, and I got to come and next door and sit with them and shoot the shit for an hour.
And it's tough. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, number one, you have great hours. I mean, for the customer, you're open from. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but during the week, I think you're open from 5:30 a.m. to 10 p.m.
No.
Is it not that? Is it 8 p.m.? I don't know. It's
7:30.
7:30. All right. Regardless, I rest my case. It's still very. I mean, that's quite a long time, right? So, 5:30 is early for most people.
Yeah.
So, no, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Is like the market. It's a response to a market need, right?
Yeah.
So if you're in a Navy town, you're gonna get up early, and you're gonna you got to provide a service for the customer, and so that's what I've been doing, and I think a lot of people will enjoy it, and I think that's what's really helped Dogtown is the hours, and just me being there every day, subconsciously. Like when you hand me Carter's leash,
Yeah.
I'm the one that touches that leash.
Yes.
And today, Sunday, like I missed a couple checkouts and a couple check-ins, and like that kind of bothered me because like I stand here as Dogtown's owner, and I want your dog to have a great time here. It leaves the same way.
Yeah, has that sincerity that you talked about earlier. It just goes all the way back to remembering someone's name, but being able to, like you said, hand me the leash to my dog, and I'm like, this is the dude. This is Dogtown, and he's taking care of me personally. And it's a very special and unique feeling.
Yeah, and I think it's worked well. And I put in a lot of work. I was living in the office for I think 2 months. A little over 2 months, and then I finally moved into the house attached to the property, which gave me a little bit of separation to where I could at least go shower.
Yeah.
Because at a point where I was Airbnb-ing the condo, just say I had a manager come in to relieve me because I was working like 18-hour days, whatever. And so if I wanted to have that 14-hour day where I could have 4 hours to go home to myself, sometimes I didn't have that because I was Airbnb-ing my place, so I had to go shower at a customer's house. I had to shower at a customer's house one time because I had a 7-day Airbnb, and I stayed here the whole time except for like 4 hours to where I
You didn't want to use the dog bath?
I did in the mornings. I would.
That's awesome. I would have done the same thing.
I just like gave a little shower. Like I think I had my shirt off once because there's like windows up front, but just like a rinse, and just like it's super cold because we didn't have hot water because the hot water was messed up.
Yeah.
I was roughing it for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that's like from a business standpoint, that's when you start realizing like what are your costs. and like, what is your value? So I was really putting in the hours, and that's why like Dogtown has been doing really well because payroll is low. Um, and we don't have to go into it too detailed, but like I put in a lot of hours, probably around, I would say over 12 every day since we've been open, except for a medical procedure, and I just had a wedding this past weekend. So around 3.5 months in, I did take three nights off to go to a wedding. But besides,
how dare you?
It was like 100, say about 100 days. I was working about 12 hours a day.
No, and I think that's
and I was sleeping here, so it was like there's 8 hours because like you gotta sleep with the dogs and
oh yeah,
all stuff. So there's more than 12, but like sometimes I was working 5 days in a row, 18-hour days, and then sleeping, getting up, and doing it again. So
it's safe to say you were committed.
Yeah, I was. So
and that's what it requires. I mean, and I think you're almost you forced your hand because you obviously left your last position and you're like, I've got to make this work. And especially when you said again, you're like, where am I going to shower? Where am I going to stay? Where am I going to sleep? I essentially have to make this work. There is no option B.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then so during that time, I think I started to realize like I want to put myself in the position to make money. I mean, that's not my like goal. I mean, obviously I'm happy and stuff, but at the same time, there is a loan. There's my house on the line.
Yeah, you do have expenses, and you do need a place to shower that's not the doggy bath. So.
No, what I'm trying to get at is
like
when you come to the end of the day and you look at your sales, like this business fails, I lose my condo. So not only am I bankrupt through the business, but my house is taken by the bank.
Yeah.
So that's more of a drive to make sure that I'm paying this loan back. And so like, I'm only 3 months in and, we've done okay. It's not like I'm on like a fast track to like pay this loan back. I'm having fun. The money's coming better because I'm putting out content. Word's getting out quick.
Yeah.
But during that time, I think I realized like, set yourself up to be like to where you can make the most money per hour. And this might sound like, greedy or whatever, but in my mind, I want to make, let's do an example. So one day during this winter storm, it was snowing, and I went back to my old days and I was like, someone's out there hustling.
Yeah.
Salt. So I called my manager. I said, hey, you know how to check out dogs. She knows the system, whatever. I was like, you come in tomorrow. And I used Alex as an example. And Alex came in and I said, and in my mind, I think, okay, there's 3 dogs here. I think there's 3 dogs boarding, whatever. And I'm going to pay her $10 an hour. So I was like, okay, she's going to be here 10 hours, probably the whole day. I got to at least make $100, And so, or I could save $100 and I could stay here. So that's $100 over 10 hours. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, that's not worth it. I see the snow and I'm like, I'm out. So I go to Home Depot, I get salt. Next day I make, a couple $100. And I throw her cash for coming in. I'm like, and that's just an example of like,
yeah.
I tried to, if there's an opportunity to go have a meeting, I take it. To, say with me and you, or like a potential investor, somebody that interests me. That if that's meeting, and this is crazy because like, if I take a meeting, that time is valuable to me because if I look back at Dogtown, I've got 4 employees. They're all on hourly. It's $40 an hour. The lights are on. The rent is like a couple $100 a day.
Yeah.
All this is in my mind, and that's where it comes into like a psychotic thing. But
I mean, it's all.
I will always value my time.
No, of course, and those are all real things.
So
very real things you have to think about when you're running a business.
Yeah, and so like that's where like now I stand here at Dogtown, and like we can go in today. Like Sunday, it was slow, and and I want to value my time, right? So I have an Airbnb, and I haven't taken any money from Dogtown right now. I haven't taken a dime. So everything's been reinvested in the company.
Yeah, good.
And so that's tough because like you're used to having that little bit of money, come from that day job or whatever. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to have my own hours. I'm going to pay myself. Like, I make my own hours, but I'm not paying myself. It's kind of tough. So I'm trying to seek out other ways of making money while still being here. So Airbnb is my number one side hustle. They take 3.5%. It's been killing, like way better than any rental that you could have done.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. That's cool.
Yeah, and so then again, it's like I could have a maid. I could have someone that could go and clean that place for me.
Yeah.
But in my mind, it's $50 I could make in about 30 minutes because I know how to clean the place pretty quickly.
Yeah. So you're doing all that stuff again yourself. So you're cutting out all those costs. So.
Yeah, and so now when I look at my schedule of Dogtown, and I'm saying, okay, I need employees at this time. I need a manager to come in and relieve me on days that are Airbnb changes because I only have 11 to 3 to flip the Airbnb. And so look at my schedule and say, I need a manager here from 11 to 3. And sometimes, it doesn't work that way. And her schedule is off, or my other manager can't work because she is working another job, whatever. So sometimes you'll see me leave Dogtown in the middle of the day with no manager here. So if I have a potential customer come, I could lose. I usually don't. Like I could have someone go do it myself. But if I know no one else is coming in for evaluations, if I'm good at Dogtown, Dogtown's my number one. Like come in between me and Dogtown. Even an Airbnb review, the guy wasn't ready. Like I don't care. Dogtown's number one.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
I have had a couple instances where like I know I'm good at Dogtown. It's pretty slow. And luckily, I run down Tazewell Street with a broom and new sheets and towels, and I'm running. And people are looking at me looking like a crazy man, like, but they don't realize I'm about to go make $600 doing this Airbnb plus a fee. Like, I just don't care. Like, you can judge me or whatever. Like,
no, and I think that's a lot of it's a common theme with everything we talked about. Is just you got to do you, and it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No. Don't care. I do care, but at the same time, I don't care.
To a certain point. I mean,
I'll take the criticism, right? Like even this podcast, I'm sure somebody's like, I hate listening to your voice. Your background dumb. Your shirt's dumb. Like I don't know. Like I listen to it. I'm like, okay, cool.
Whatever. The way I think about it is one, at a bare minimum, I've learned a lot from you. I think it's awesome. You definitely inspired me. I'm like thinking of ways, wow, I've got to make more of my time. And honestly, I can honestly say if one person got just one thing from this, then I'll rest happy, because I think a huge thing, and I've said this a lot of times, so people again may have heard this before, but I think one thing very inspiring in life is to make something for yourself. But I think another level, the way I describe it, is to be able to give back to others and to teach others. And that's my intentions with this channel and with these videos, is to learn from you and be able to disseminate that information to others to help them, because those people probably don't know you and they don't know any of this information. And I'm learning it from you too, but now I'm able to disseminate and essentially network to them this information that they would have no idea how to, or how lucrative maybe Airbnb was, or to flip stuff on those applications on your phone, or to do this company, or to be able to even take a risk, or to just simply see somebody else or hear somebody else's story that literally had things made, I think is safe to say, had a good job, had a good house, and then dropped all that behind to literally risk everything he had to do something that you were passionate about. And to me, that's very important in life, because God knows I don't want to go my entire life, or wouldn't want anybody to go their entire lives doing something that they don't enjoy. And I'd rather them maybe take a few steps back in their career, at least temporarily, to do something that they enjoy. So to go back to like your thing that
Yeah.
you said, you know, if 99% of these people don't enjoy what they've heard, then so be it. But
Yeah.
I can honestly say that if one person enjoys it or gets something out of it, then I'm happy. You know, my job is done.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
and then if anything, I can just you know, and that's very important to me. So to be able to learn is important, and to be able to give back and give other people opportunities, I think, is also very important. You know.
Yeah. And it's fun because in the last 3 weeks, I've like you were saying, like I'm learning again. It's like I'm learning how to make different things. So now I'm starting not a business, but it's like another side hustle that I'm completely learning new, and it's like I'm still evolving, and it's just so simple, but it's and again, valuing my time or whatever. But the learning aspect's huge. I mean, the learning curve's huge, and I'm growing through it. You know, I'm learning, I'm growing, and evolving, and we'll see where Dogtown takes me. But so far, I'm enjoying it, and doing things like this. You know, I try to do a podcast, and I have the tape, I have the video.
Yeah.
It was a learning experience. All that stuff.
Well, yeah. Hopefully, you'll get that footage up now, because this will be up a few days after. Obviously, we're not doing it live, but
right.
No, it's been incredible, and I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, and I would absolutely you know, love to speak to you again. I think there's a lot of other ways, you know, a lot of other directions we could take it. Keeping and I could, and I know you got to get up early too, Monday morning, rise and grind. But I guess it's safe to say we'll conclude here, and I would love to talk to you more. But like I said, that just saves some room for the future. But I will link everything for, you know, Dogtown. I can't remember if I know you have a website. I don't want to.
What video?
Yeah. So
I said you gotta link the dinosaur video.
Oh yeah, the dinosaur video, definitely. I'll link that in the website and the Facebook page, Instagram, all that, of course. But obviously, your time is very important. You're a busy man, and I can't thank you enough for coming on here and talking to me. And I'll definitely look forward to our next one. So I really appreciate it, Sam. Thank you. And like I said, we'll link everything so everybody can check it out. And anybody, hopefully in the area with a pupper, can check you out and take you by Dogtown and see that everything you have to offer. All right, man. All right, Sam. Yeah. Have a great night, man.